Well, greetings, viewers and voyeurs. Got that funk here, of course. And it's been a while since I've done just, a rambly vlog style video. And I thought I would do so. Perhaps this one and the next one will be like that. Because, well, last week when I did my, four facts and one lie tag video, which I titled Spot the Lie, one of the stories that I told, I didn't actually tell the stories. I just gave little sort of snippets and then invited people to vote on which one they wanted to hear more about. And one of the things I mentioned was, I lost my virginity when I was 17 with my 16-year-old girlfriend. And 15 minutes later, she was in bed with another guy. And that was one of the true stories. Quite a few people voted to have that one told in a video, but because it didn't get the most votes, I, at the time, was quite grateful that I didn't have to recant it. However, I've had a few messages from people privately as well as in the comment section to the videos, and I thought, yeah, it probably won't hurt to tell the story. In fact, for those of my viewers who are perhaps younger or less experienced, maybe you guys can, learn something from my mistakes. And those of you who are a bit more experienced can just laugh at me for my mistakes. That's fine too. But I'm not actually going to make that video right now because in order to really understand how I got to be the way I was when it all started and how I got to be now, I want to talk a little bit about the road I've traveled as regards this type of thing. First of all, I find it really amusing here on YouTube. Somehow, it seemed to have created an impression of being some kind of, I don't know, man whore, or, you know, something like that. I'm not really sure what the right word for it would be. Um, So I just use the most base term I could think of there. But I mean, basically, I keep getting teased a lot about being some kind of, great Casanova or whatever. And, wouldn't that be nice if that was the case for me? But unfortunately for me, it's not. Or maybe it isn't unfortunate because I'm quite content with how I am. But I don't know. I find it really amusing. And especially if y'all knew um, the true history of my interactions with the fair sex have not really been so successful. Not in terms of relationships, anyways. And I think it's worthy to, before I go into like the deflowering story and talk about other stuff on this sort of level in the future from time to time. I think it's worthy to sort of go back and talk about, how I developed my attitudes. So I'm going to go right back and talk about things from when I was really little and move my way up towards adolescence and the night of the loss of my virginity, and then we'll see what happens after that. But anyway, in this video, I'm just going to concentrate on the early years. Now, I wasn't really obviously I was aware of the difference between boys and girls from a young age because my sister's just a year younger than me, and when we were toddlers, my mom used to bathe us together, so fine. Um, but I didn't really look at girls in the world in any particular way um, until obviously getting closer to 10 or so, maybe even past 10. I don't know. But I did start fancying women, grown women, that is, from an extremely early age. Basically, at the age of 6, my mom and dad had my stepdad, that is, had been married for about a year. And I discovered a stack of Playboy magazines in their bedroom closet. So we're talking what? This would be 1968. So most of the magazines would have been 67 and 68 magazines. And the time I discovered them, my dad was a fireman at the time, and my mom used to have to go down to the fire department and give him his dinner every night when he was, on call at the station. And so she'd be gone for like anywhere between half an hour and an hour. And one night when my mom was gone, my sister was in the living room watching the big TV. And so I was in my parents' bedroom watching Sesame Street on the little TV. And that's when I found the magazines. And I was so mesmerized by the pictures of the semi-clad or unclad women. I literally took all the magazines out and opened them all up to the centerfold, and I placed them all around me on the floor and up on my parents' bed and everything. And I literally stood in the middle and had them all around me and spun in sort of in slow circles, going, "Wow, wow." and I just couldn't believe how beautiful I thought some of those women are. In fact, some of those centerfolds are literally burned into my memory. I don't know which, miss whatever month they are, but yeah, there's one in particular with like a cat skin thing going on that just was yummy. Anyway, right, enough about that. So that was my first sort of understanding that, I suppose that I thought women were really groovy and cool, and something that made my willy feel a bit funny, and I didn't really understand that at the time, of course. Anyway, moving right along now. In school, I wasn't really a very popular kid. I was liked by most people, but I didn't really fit into any groups. I was one of these kids who, well, when I was first going to school, we were told that if you knew the answer to a question, you're supposed to raise your hand. Well, I always fucking knew the answer, so I always raised my hand. And when you're one of those kids that always raises your hand, it puts a lot of other kids off you. I was oblivious to that. I thought that's what you were supposed to do, and so I did it. And I also used to get lots of A's and so on, and some people would want to cheat on my tests and whatever. And so when you get the reputation of being a brainy kid, whether that's right or wrong, a lot of people just don't seem to, the whole geek thing kicks in, and I don't know, it's really weird in school when you're little, especially in like the early 70s. It just didn't seem like being brainy made you very popular. In fact, it was the opposite. Seeing being brainy made you unpopular. So fine. Anyway, and as I get a bit older, I was really scrawny, by the way. As I was a boy, I mean, like really, really, like you know, not right. I was way too thin. You could see all my bones. Um, and that carried on into adolescence. And when I was a teenager, I was super, super, super scrawny. And even when I was 16, I was 6 foot tall, and I only weighed 120 pounds. And for my British friends, 120 pounds is about roughly 8.5 stone, something close to that. So anyway, and at 6 foot, that's pretty damn skinny. So, I didn't really necessarily appeal so well to the opposite sex in terms of my physique. And, I've always had fucked up teeth. And basically, I think that was a deal breaker for most of the chicks in my school. And so, yeah, I was like not very popular with girls in school. I mean, they would talk to me, in a friendly way, but I never got the feeling any of them ever fancied me. And anyway, so fine. But I certainly started fancying them, from about, I suppose, sixth grade onwards, which was what I was 11 in sixth grade. I was definitely started fancying girls in a big way. And, I actually tried smoking once because the girl I fancied smoked. But I didn't even know that you were supposed to inhale the smoke. And when she saw me smoking but not inhaling, she just laughed her ass off at me. And I was so humiliated. I didn't show my face around there for about 2 weeks. And yeah, I never smoked cigarettes again after that. I didn't really smoke though, because like I say, I wasn't inhaling it. I just sucking it in my mouth and blowing it out because I thought that's what you did. Anyway, so yeah. And in the eighth grade, I was having a moment of bravado, one of many that I've had throughout my life, where I'd sort of get um, an upwelling of overconfidence, which sort of consumes me. And I literally asked, when I was in eighth grade, I literally asked every single girl in my class to marry me, even the ugly ones. And some of them said yes. Quite a few of them actually said yes, but we had to grow up first. They said, yeah, after we grow up, we can get married. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. Which is, it was just amusing. And I think the fact is that they all knew I was asking everyone anyway, so it was a bit of a farce. But just goes to show I was a fucking simple fucker, okay? When I was a kid, I didn't really have a clue how to interact with people because I didn't really fit into any groups. I only had one strong friend in school, and that was from the age of 11 onwards, and we're still friends now, actually. We'll always be friends. But anyway, I think, like I say, being sort of that teacher's pet type kid, and also being really scrawny and so forth, and not really being into sport and everything like that, not being able to play an instrument, etc. I didn't really have any chance of appealing to the chicks around me, especially because, we all grew up together. And I think once it gets into your head that you don't fancy that guy, you don't grow to fancy them later on. At least that wasn't my experience. But in 1978, I was 16. And prior to my 16th birthday, I discovered this amazing place in the next town over. called, well, it was a roller skating rink, anyways. And in '78, that's the height of the disco era. And after I turned 16, a few months later, I got a job at this place. And the interesting thing for me was, whereas at school, girls would sort of be polite to me and talk to me, but wouldn't really have much to do with me. When I was working at the skating rink, I had exactly the opposite reception. When you work at a place like that, it's interesting because it's kind of like being a musician insofar as chicks just throw themselves at you. you know, when I was in school, girls would dance with me sometimes, but never for more than two songs, and you know, it wasn't the same. That's all. Basically, I got the feeling they were being polite to me, whereas when I went to work, girls would skate up to me and say, "Here, give me their phone number and say, call me, let's go out." I'm like, okay. So when I was 16, I did a lot of dating in that first few months because I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. Um, I was quite keen to lose my virginity, but basically because of all the dating I did and the conversations I had with the chicks I was dating, the word got around pretty quick that I was a virgin. And I think once people find out that you're a virgin, there's a sort of underswell of there's a certain kind of chick that wants to be the one to pop your cherry, and they came out of the woodwork, man. And I was going out with girls, different two or three girls a week, different girls a week, not not having relationships or anything. Take them to a movies, have a kiss at the door at night, boom, done. That's pretty much it when I was 16. But anyway, and I was sort of trying girls on to see which one I liked the best because it occurred to me that I could afford to be picky at that point. Which is, and I was completely unused to this amount of attention, you see, going from girls not even wanting to really be associated with me to girls basically queuing up to go out with me. I didn't really know how to handle that. And I have to say, I am a pretty egocentric, narcissistic kind of guy. And I think probably at first it did go to my head a little bit there. It only takes a few heartbreaks to sort of bring it back down to earth, though, but that was much further in the future. Round about the time I lost my virginity, and I'll be getting to that in the next video. I'm going to sort of lead you up to that, though. So anyway, when I was going out with all these chicks, and they all found out that I was a virgin because of our conversations, and basically, I realized that my virginity itself was a commodity and that I could afford to be very, very picky about who I slept with. But I really, really felt strongly, and it wasn't just a rap I had, although I did say to the chicks I was talking to, I said, I really want to wait till I fall in love with someone before I have sex for the first time. Because I felt that I actually had the choice now. I didn't just have to go for the first thing that came along, which is, when I was younger and didn't have any experience of girls at all, I was afraid that I'd be one of these, people who was a virgin until he was way late in life and just have to jump at the first woman that wanted to be with me. Just didn't think chicks liked me at all. So to find out chicks did like me was pretty shocking. And anyway, when I realized I could sort of I suppose market my virginity is a crude way of putting it, but not necessarily inaccurate. Um, I basically once girls found out I wanted to be in love, that made it even worse. I just had all this attention, and anyway, unfortunately, I sort of developed a crush on a chick who didn't develop a crush back on me. Story of my life, and anyway, she's the one who introduced me to the girl I lost my virginity to. And we'll pick up that story in a future video next time. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this at least a little bit entertaining. Until next time, may all your ups and downs be ups.